Hi, I'm Daniel, and this is my bottom 10 list of the year 2016. I know it's really late, I've had a lot on, and I've had to re-watch all these films just to make sure they're just as bad as I remember them. Okay, so caveats. Obviously, I did not see every film released in the year 2016, so these are the worst films that I watched in 2016 that were released onto a UK cinema screen for at least one showing. So with that out of the way, let's get this show on the road. Number 10! God's Not Dead 2. Done well, courtroom films can be tense and exciting. Anybody who's seen 12 Angry Men can confirm that, but you have to get the dialogue right. And it's probably not a good idea to make the defendant slightly holier than Mother Teresa, and every single other character being more cartoonishly evil than Dick Dastardly. Oh, and actually putting some decent actors in would have helped. And putting some tension in the film. And not being so smug. And not having an infinitely better story happening in the B-plot. Number 9. Gods of Egypt. What a terrible year for blockbusters this was, and it began with Gods of Egypt, a failed franchise starter that consisted of Gerard Butler shouting his lines for a change, Jaime Lannister playing a one-eyed god, and a side character that was basically a knockoff of Aladdin. It was poorly plotted with terrible CGI and was bizarrely released in the States several months before it washed ashore over here in the UK. It's currently one of the biggest flops of all time, and deservedly so. Number 8. Dad's Army. Absolutely fabulous. One rule I have is that any movie based on a TV show is probably going to be awful, The Nice Guys being the sole exception, and if it's called the insert show name here film, avoid at all costs. And boy was I proven right with these. Both based off of classic BBC sitcoms. Where Ab Fab never did anything for me, I really liked Dad's Army. But I watched both of these in auditoriums that may as well have been empty for all the laughter that came out of the audience. Hell, I saw Absolutely Fabulous with massive fans of the show, and on the way home all they did was apologise for making me sit through it. Not as much as I apologise to my better half after Dad's Army, but close. Both were funny in that time, but both films came across as slightly tragic and woefully unfunny, which is the worst thing you can say about a comedy. Number 7, Alice Through the Looking Glass. A massive bomb both commercially and critically. Could this spell the end of Johnny Depp as a massive A-lister? Probably not. This was just a poorly made film. In one scene the villain's a buffoon, the next a credible threat, and over-reliance on bad green screen made it hard to watch. And Mia Wasikowska is so wooden I could have built a cabin out of her. Number 6. Highrise. Okay, now they've been trying to make this film for over 30 years, nearly getting it made in the late 1970s, but it took until 2014 to be made, and it was released in 2016. And did I mention it was already loosely adapted into an episode of classic Doctor Who? It was incomprehensible. It moved too quickly and yet not at all. It seemed to feel that its purpose was to show Tom Hiddleston's bum every 10 seconds. And did I mention that it was really, truly, horrifically dated as well? Alright, number 5, Ben-Hur. Who wanted this? With a still unbeaten 11 Oscars, the 1959 version is regarded as one of the greatest films of all time. It was preserved by the National Film Registry of the Library of Congress for being a culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant motion picture. The remake, it's one of the biggest flops of 2016. It made no money, it was blandly acted, felt horrifically rushed with one-dimensional interchangeable characters. Bad CGI, boring action, and I came away thinking William Shakespeare said it best. As he always does, Ben-Hur is told by an idiot full of sound and fury signifying nothing. Number 4, Cell. Okay, so the idea of mobile phones brainwashing people actually sounds pretty good if you're writing an episode of Doctor Who. But this? If you haven't burst out laughing in the first 10 minutes, then I'm going to assume you're a robot posing as a human. Stephen King's novels have a pretty spotty reputation when it comes to the screen, and this one apparently wasn't too great to begin with. Starring Sam Jackson, who's clearly having a blast, and John Cusack, who's clearly confused as to how his career has come to this, Cell is unintentionally hilarious, whilst at the same time taking itself so seriously that I doubt it could even become a cult classic. And it's definitely got one of the most bizarre endings I think I've ever seen. Number 3, Top Cat Begins. Okay, now this was apparently neither made in 1995 nor began life as a series of cutscenes from a PS1 game, which was news to me because this film looks awful. In fact, I think PS1 cutscenes had better graphics than this. But even leaving that aside, this is based off of a low-budget cartoon that I'm pretty sure most of the target audience of 5-year-olds would never have heard of. The main character feels no remorse for using, abusing, and discarding people as his whims dictate, and the voice acting just plain sucked. In a year that gave us the sublime Zootopia and Kubo and the Two Strings, there's no excuse for allowing writing this lousy. Fortunately, it bombed so spectacularly, it didn't even make back its tiny $6 million budget. Collateral Beauty. Okay, so this was the last film I saw in 2016. I nearly didn't, but it was straight on after the Not As Awful As I Wanted It To Be Monster Trucks, and I had a couple of hours to kill. I walked out needing a thorough decontamination and maybe an exorcism. I can handle a film loosely based on A Christmas Carol in which death, time and love turn up to help a man put his life back together. I can handle the film being ambiguous as to whether or not they exist. But to make them into jobbing actors who are forcing him to have a breakdown so his friends can force him to sell his shares in an advertising company? It boggles my mind that the director managed to get such an amazing cast to appear in this thing. I get that Smith is desperate for an Oscar, but Keira Knightley, Dame Helen Mirren, Kate Winslet, Edward Norton, these people can't all have parking tickets to pay off, can they? But disgusting and manipulative and as wasteful of actors as it is, this is still a film. It begins, runs for 97 minutes too long, and then ends, unlike number 1, Mother's Day is not a film. It is a product designed to be shown on TV again and again and again. A product genetically designed to be as bland and inoffensive as possible, with every single rough edge smoothed off. It's blandly shot and brightly lit, and what few issues there are get sorted out with incredible ease. Look, jukebox films are difficult to get right at the best of times. Multiple narratives mean less time for each story, and giving this film a 118-minute runtime merely makes it more bloated than it needed to be, by about 118 minutes. There is nothing here to reward a viewing, no positive to take away. I watched it with my mum, she hated it. I watched it with my girlfriend, and within 7 minutes she wanted to walk out. And the worst thing is everyone seems to know what kind of film they're in. No one is trying, no one is putting in any effort. Everyone is just looking forward to the fact that they are in a film that will be repeated and repeated and repeated and repeated until the end of time, ensuring them a regular paycheck. Burn this to ash and then bury the ashes deep in the earth or fire them into the sun. This is the worst film of 2016. But what did you guys think? And what was your worst film of the last year? Comment below, let me know. I'm Daniel, this has been a What on Earth. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe.